One announcement. We will not be broadcast live over YouTube. It will be on cable and it will be on YouTube later this evening. There were some thunderstorms that we feel made some complications. So Jeremy's working on it but couldn't get it done for the meeting tonight. So if anyone asks, be on later. Please rise. We'll have a pledge of prayer by Mark Livingston.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Boonville. Be with this council as it moves forward and be with this city. Make the best decisions it can for everybody involved. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks.
I would ask that everyone please turn off your cell phones if you have those with you. And Mary, if you would call roll, please.
Livingston.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Ehlers.
Here.
Heaton.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Meadows. Here. Beach.
Here.
Thank you. Hearing of citizens' comments. At this time, anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment, this is the time that you can go to the podium and you have 5 minutes to make your statement. If you would please write down who you are and your address, and although we probably all know who you are if you would tell us, so everyone at home will know who you are too.
Do you want me to write first?
Please.
Okay. Got it. Ready? I'm Bonnie Riley,
Okay.
representing Riley Equine Center tonight. And you folks were very, very generous with us last year. And we just completed using the funding that you had given us and March 3rd, which is when we were supposed to finish it. And looking back over it, I thought it was only proper that I come and fall to my knees if you want me to and say thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate this. You have enabled us to do something that we could not have done without you. I wanted to report what we did with your money. Every penny was spent on either scholarships or a therapeutic saddle. We did buy one therapeutic saddle because we needed it to fit some of the clients. Not one penny was spent on administrative funds. It was all straight scholarships. We served 14 kiddos. 9 were referred directly from the teachers and principals from the schools. The schools apparently like what we do. They told us that. 2 were sent from those children's child therapist. 1 was a referral directly from the parent, and 2 were from referred or requesting funds from two unlimited opportunities people, parents who needed funding. And not only we provided you all provided 112 lessons in total for these kiddos. And not only have we made progress with these students, but I also wanted to tell you that we have a wonderful, wonderful group of volunteers. And it is just becoming more cohesive, and I just wish you could see the way they work. It has given people, we have depressed people, formerly depressed people. We have people that struggle with anxiety. We also have very healthy people. We have people from the schools that come and help. And the adults take the kids in, and it is becoming an after-school program, actually, since we do lessons Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings. I just wish you could see how they work together. I'm amazed. at what this is doing to the people in this community and for the people in this community, and the community has been so supportive that I just am speechless about the good stuff that's going on out there. We had our open house yesterday. We entertained about 275 folks, and the volunteers were on their best behavior. It was just beautiful. So I was on a high from this open house. We had clowns and all kinds of stuff at the open house, and a very supportive community. And I woke up this morning and checked Facebook, and I got a message that says, and I had permission to use his name. They said, check Donnie Bargary's post. So I thought, okay, well, Donnie was out there looking at watching our lessons Saturday, and he was at the open house, and so I thought, uh-oh, I wonder what Donnie said. And he said, and he also gave us a very generous donation. And I couldn't have said it better, so I had to read it to you. He said, kids can choose drugs, alcohol, or horses. As a proud supporter of Riley Equine Center, I would like to thank them for offering that third option. Congratulations, Bonnie, Ben, and the rest of the gang for a successful year. Keep up the good work. That just warmed my heart. And then what really warmed my heart was 2 posts later, one of our parents from 3 of our little volunteers said, Donnie, I agree with you. Horses are wonderful, and our community is so lucky to have Riley Equine Center. I don't know what my girls would do without the horses, and they've never had to struggle with which to choose, alcohol, drugs, or horses. So that I just wanted to tell you that we could not do this without you, and so I am here to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And you all are welcome to come visit anytime. I'd like to show you what we do. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bonnie, very much. Any other comments from citizens? Seeing none, we will move along to approval of the minutes of the March 17th, 2014 council meeting. You had those in your packet and have had time to review those. Are there any corrections or additions or questions? Hearing and seeing none, we will move along, and they will stand as presented. Consent items. We have 5 consent items. Consider pay request number 2 final from TH&N Electric Service in the amount of $53,694.69 for the high service building electrical service upgrade. We have consider a change order number 1 from BH&N Electrical Service in the amount of $19,563, and that would be a credit for the high service building electrical service upgrade. Item 3, consider pay request number 4 from JC Industries in the amount of $39,697.08 for concrete street repairs and stormwater improvements. Item 4, consider change order number 2 from JC Industries in the amount of $31,596 credit for concrete street repairs. And item 5, consider change order number 1 final from Freck Paving in the amount of $1,405.39 credit for the asphalt street repairs. Do I hear a motion? Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve the consent items as presented.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I second.
Morris had his hand up first, so. Morris.
I doubt it.
Second.
Okay. Questions, comments? Morris?
Earl, what's credits is good, but I mean, what's generating the credits? I mean, are they just
On the JC Industries one? The credit was on that. We encountered some issues in the field that proved more troublesome than worth, mainly up there in some alleys along Main Street, up there between Chestnut and Spring, where we were going back into the alley trying to fix some low spots where water was standing, and it was become much harder than we ever anticipated getting the old brick out because it had torqued itself in there and so forth. So we just deleted some of that distance going back, so that saved a little money, and I think there was probably a little contingency available in there too. And So things just added up that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Presentation of accounts and claims. Mary, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the council of the city of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries on various accounts against the city of Boonville, which have been allowed by the council at the regular meeting thereof on April 7, 2014, the sum of $870,012.22. General Fund, $318,784.69. Sanitation, $34,703.04. CIP tax, $30,356.20. Waterworks, $56,869.83. Capital projects, $10,883.57. Wastewater, $124,191.98. Tourism, $12,146.24. Gaming, $282,076.67. Parks Water, 0. Section 1, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $870,012.22, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on April 7, 2014. Read for the second time this second day of April 2014, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Morris.
Mayor, I make a motion to be approved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Becky. Questions, comments? Roll call.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
We have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move along to new business. Item A, consider street closings and parking restrictions request for Boonville Heritage Day celebration on June 27th and 28th, and Mr. Jim Niederjohn is here to answer any questions anyone might have. Jim, do you want to lead off with something, or just open the floor for questions?
I'll lead off with a little something if I may.
Okay, please.
This is the 175th year of the signing of the charter for Boonville. Quite an accomplishment. It is also the 25th year for Heritage Days. And that in itself is an accomplishment also. Most festivals will run about 5, maybe 10 years, and that's about it. I'm open to any questions anyone would like to ask.
Noah?
I noticed this year's packet did not include signatures of people who live along the street closings.
We sent out letters this year to every resident. And Brad Woolridge did he get you the list of the businesses? Okay, he was supposed to have gotten that to you today.
I didn't see it, Jim.
I will double check on that one. But we sent letters to each and every resident.
Okay. By any chance, do you know when the letters went out?
I cannot tell you no. That went through the chamber, and I have not had opportunity to follow up on it. I've had other things.
Well, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here. One of the issues about the signature is, in my opinion, twofold. One, it gives notification to each homeowner that lives along a route that's going to propose to be closed. And two, it gives them the opportunity to basically cast their vote in favor or against said closure. And to me, by bringing those back to this council, it gives us an opportunity to look at it, to view the landscape, to see how many people along that route is in favor of it or against it. The reason I bring it up is that over the longevity of the last year, I've ran into several people along the closed route where the car show is. It's in my ward, it's in my neighborhood. I live on Chestnut, so I'm a block down from it. And I run into my neighbors quite often, and it is the number one talked about issue about two things. One, about last year especially, there was a large amount of trash left in everybody's personal property, and that really upset a lot of people. Cigarette butts, pop and beer cans, not beer cans, but pop cans and cigarette butts and that sort of trash. So that was an issue. And then secondly, and I've spoke to you about this in past years, the little strip of closure that's it's on Spring Street between 3rd and 4th, many of those homes don't have alley access because the alley between Chestnut and Spring has people who live down that alley. So the backs of the houses on Spring Street that are closed have no access to their homes, whereas every other location you close, they all have back alley access to their properties. And I've had several unfavorable comments from people who live on that street that it's very difficult for them. But anyway, that's why it kind of was bothersome that we didn't go through, I think, a normal procedure about the signature pages, because I don't know if these people were given notice. I mean, you wrote them a letter, but I don't know. And the trash issue, is there anything that Heritage Days Association that you guys can do about making sure there's enough receptacles around there so the people at the car show make sure they throw their garbage away?
We can try and put out a few more trash containers along there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys even, if it's too late even, I don't know if you've already sent out your applications for people to sign up for the car show. I don't know if there's any other contact opportunity you have with those people, but try to get them not to throw their trash in people's yards, cigarette butts especially.
We will talk to the people who are running the car show for us and see what we can do for it.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Jim, on the letters, are they to be signed and returned to someone, or you just sent letters?
No, they were just letters sent.
Is that in compliance with our street closing regulations?
No.
Don't we have to have signatures of people that live along there in order to consider street closings?
Do we do that every year with Heritage Days?
Yeah. And any other, I mean, if there's a motorcycle rally and they want to close an alley, they have to bring the signatures to us. So I think it's up to the council, but I believe we need to see signatures for you to ask for street closings. I'd like some feedback from others on that, but.
Well, like I spoke of, I think that was the purpose of signatures, the two purposes that I mentioned. One is to make sure they're notified that their street's going to be closed, possibly, if we grant the closing. And two, if you've never seen one of those applications, there is a side of the paper you can sign saying you're in favor of the closing, and there's a side you can say you're not in favor of it. And that gives us feedback as a council to say, we go along with it or not. I mean, if I got one of those street closings and there was 5 signatures on it, 1 for and 4 against, I think that would be weight for us not to consider that street closing. Now, I don't think that's ever the case with Heritage Days. I think the majority of people in the past have signed the side that says okay, so I'm not suggesting that at all. In fact, do we have time to get signatures? What is today?
Begging pardon,
Go ahead.
I believe there is only one line for signatures there. It's not in favor or against.
It's
Yeah.
strictly a notice issue. It's a notice issue.
Or they can
believe-
write
Well,
I'm
then I've
against
seen them.
it.
Then I've seen them
They-
write they're against it. Then next to their address, where they say refuse to sign or against. Okay, whether it's a for or against, but I've seen people express their opinion for or against it in that manner. But what about time restraint? I mean, do we have is there a time issue?
June 25th.
2.5 months.
Yeah, this is what, beginning of April or something like that.
Like, I can tell you this much, last year I probably went 6 to 7 times personally trying to see everyone. And we never did catch everyone. Most of the people are similar to me who are on the committee. We work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week. We put in another 20 hours a month on volunteer time on other things on Heritage Days. Finding the time is going to be very, very rough to do. I don't know if we can. We'll try if you want, but
What's council's pleasure?
Megan, did you say they needed to?
That's the policy. I mean, the issue is whenever you're infringing upon somebody's right of access or those kind of things, you need to make sure that there's notice. That's the most important thing. And then once notice occurs, if somebody has a substantial issue, maybe there's a medical reason they need to get access to the home, we don't know those things. And that once they have notice, then they can come to the city council or talk with their councilman specifically, or come in and talk to the city staff, so that we can try to accommodate those. But the whole issue, and that's kind of why that whole piece went through, is that you need to have the time in advance to get the notice.
So does the letter work as a notice?
How do you verify that they've gotten it? And that's, that's part of the problem. That's, why notice is so important, so that you verify a letter written that hasn't been received is not notice. So there might be an opportunity. I mean, I know that sometimes folks are difficult to get a hold of. Maybe there's an opportunity to do a little phone calling to make sure, and to document a phone call, those kind of things. I mean, in an instance where you just absolutely can't get a hold
I
of
thought
somebody.
that would not work, though.
Yeah. Well, I think on an exception, if that's the only thing that you can get, if you've tried 3 or 4 times to get a hold of somebody at the house, and if you can get them by phone and verify that they have received the letter, and to document that receipt, I think on an exception basis that would probably work. Yeah.
I move to table the approval of the Heritage Days street closures until such time as we have the written notices from the customers, or signatures that they received the notices. I'm sorry, I worded that incorrectly.
Okay.
Can they send a second letter and have it signed and sent back? I mean, there's time for that. Doesn't take a whole lot of.
Provide a return.
Yeah, give them a
It's not
return.
gonna get sent back. It won't be sent
People
back.
won't send them.
No,
Really?
the issue really is consistency, isn't it?
Right.
Julie? Yeah.
I second the
Mike?
motion.
Okay. Did everyone hear and understand the motion that Ned made?
Let's see. Can we hear it again, please?
Move to table the approval until such time as we have the signatures that people have been noticed up. Ended that sentence with a preposition. Steve, you picked it up.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I live on the corner of 3rd and Chestnut, so I'm actually within 1 block of almost half of your closures. So if you do have a hard time getting any of those people, if you'd like to, I'll give you a card here. You can call me, and I'll be glad to hit them up at night after I get home from work. Because like I said, I could literally walk around my block and hit over half of your people.
We have hit time, all different times, all varied times of the day, evening, everything.
Well, if you take
And we
this,
have not had the luck finding them.
if you make your first pass through, and then you were willing to drop off your application things, you can drop them in my house, and I'll be glad to make that walk a couple times in a week, and I can catch most of the rest of them.
Any questions, Jim, or?
No,
Okay.
just finding time to do it.
Finding those
If we
extra
do.
hours to do it. Thank you very much for what you do. Item B, first reading of bill number 2014-010, amending the dangerous building codes in Chapter 13, Article 3 of the Ordinance Code of Ordinances.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, amending the dangerous building codes in Chapter 13, Article 3 of the City of Boonville Code of Ordinances, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Thank you, Mary. Item C, first reading of bill number 2014-011, amending the public nuisance regulations regarding weeds and debris removal in Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, amending the Code of Ordinances, public nuisance regulations in Chapter 13 regarding weeds and debris removal notification, hearing, and abatement of options, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Thank you, Mary. Item D, consider resolution R 2014-05 authorizing an agreement with Emery Sapp and Sons Incorporated for a partial parallel taxiway extension at Jesse Vertel Memorial Airport.
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving an agreement between Emery Sapp and Sons Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri, pertaining to extending a partial parallel taxiway at Jesse Vertel Memorial Airport and providing an effective date therefore. Whereas the City of Boonville has solicited and received bids for this project and determined that Emery Sapp and Sons Incorporated represents the best bid pursuant to the purchasing code set forth in Section 2-20 of the City of Boonville Code of Ordinances. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that a certain agreement between Emery Sapp and Sons Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri relating to extending a partial parallel taxiway at Jesse Vertel Memorial Airport, a copy of which is marked Exhibit A, is attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city administrator and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval. Passed the 7th day of April 2014 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Mark,
Mayor, I move we approve this resolution.
do I hear a second? Noah?
Mayor, I second.
Okay. Earl, did you want to make any comments, or?
No, the project actually ended up coming together a little faster than I anticipated. I anticipated it might go as late as being a fall project, but one of the things that kind of motivated the engineer and everybody to kind of move it along, and things fell into place with the various approvals, was in the course of doing this, we have to close the runway down. It's not working on the runway, but it's close enough to the runway where you have to do it on the side. And you know, we've had the last couple of years and anticipate this year the crop duster guy using our airport out there. We ended up trying to accelerate it sort of to beat his season. And so the roadway won't have to be closed for the entire period of the construction. It's just when they're doing grading from the taxiway over toward the runway, when they actually paving the taxiway and so forth, that's far enough away it doesn't matter. So, and then the grading is the first thing. So we're trying to get that out of the way so it doesn't compromise him any more than it has to. But bids came in pretty darn good. It's still a high dollar project, obviously, but again, this is one of the ones where you do have some grant funding, and I think we're probably approaching 92 or 93%. It's part of the money's 5%, part of the money's 10%. I think he thought we were coming in about $80,000 out of the total thing. So it's as funding goes, it's as good as it gets. So, but it's still a significant project, and it's another nice step for the airport.
Noah?
And so that was my question I wanted to verify. So we're only liable for about 80,000 of that amount, somewhere between 5 and 10%.
Right. Because they meld the two pots.
Right, okay.
So.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Reports of standing committee. Item A, Industrial Development Authority and the Municipal Facilities Authority. Mark?
Both of these boards meet the same evening, one after the other. In the minutes are in front of you. We had a discussion about the strategic plan for the economic development, and I think you'll hear some more tonight. Both boards are looking for people to serve on the board, so I think if anybody has any suggestions, you can get those to Wilbur Meyer, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Mark? Seeing none, we'll move along to Boonville Housing Authority. Morris?
We had our regular meeting. It was a good meeting, standard meeting. Our city planner, Megan, was there to talk about the annexation, and she made a lot of good points about it. So I think everybody was satisfied after she got done.
Parks Board, Morris.
I'm gonna let Gary handle that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Excuse me, the board met on March 18th. Kind of routine. Megan made a presentation to the board on the annexation issue coming up tomorrow. Probably the biggest thing that came out of the meeting on the 18th was a presentation by Barbarotta on behalf of the Boonville Soccer Academy. And if you've read the minutes and you looked at my activity report for the month of March, there's a soccer league in Columbia that is disbanding. And he had the opportunity to, I guess, gather those teams in, if you will. And so starting this fall, and actually he's working on it right now, he is forming what's known as a micro soccer league, 3-on-3, 5-on-5 teams. He's capped it at 50 teams this year because after he and I talked with the space constraints and things we have at Kemper, we didn't think we could host more than 50 teams. He sent me a diagram on how he thought we could sandwich 20 of these reduced size soccer fields on the Kemper property. After I met with him, I think more realistically we can put 16 on. We're going to lose 4 of them someplace because of lumps and bumps and other terrain features. The big thing, the most positive aspect about this whole soccer league is that beginning in September, we could see as many as 1,000 people in Boonville on any one given Saturday or Sunday. And, you know, we talked the parking issue. Parking issue at Kemper is probably going to be our biggest concern. But these games are on a rotational basis, so there's constantly going to be traffic moving in and out, and we don't think it's going to be quite as bad. We hope it's not as bad as we think it could be. But I guess the big thing is the fact that the number of people that we could be bringing into Boonville. And this adds a little more emphasis to our comprehensive plan and our need to start planning and start locating sites, and we've got to grow to meet the need and the demand of the community. So, questions?
I have one. Yeah, I read that and I was very excited about it. I'm somewhat biased. I was a coach for BSA for the first year. I see what it does for the young kids. I see what it does for their development and involvement in teamwork. I still play soccer myself, so it's not just a child sport. I consider it something that you can do your whole life, unlike many sports. I'm very excited about the opportunity for us to get that group to start coming here. I've seen what it does for Columbia. You get out there with not just one match, but you have a match that's separated by an hour. What do? You go to eat somewhere in Columbia. You can't come back to Boonville, so you end up spending your whole day there, spending your money there, and that's the kind of things that Boonville can get from those families as a result of running this. So I'm very excited about what this means. I also saw in here that we were working on the comprehensive, I don't know if that's the proper term.
Comprehensive plan.
Comprehensive plan. And that also is something that is not just tied to soccer, but tied to the future of our parks. And I'm really happy to see that you've got those kind of connections going too.
You know, and one of the things too with the soccer program, he's already got commitments from teams out of Sedalia, Marshall, Mexico, Ashland. So, you know, it's not just going to be the teams coming in from Columbia, but it's going to be more of a regional type thing as well.
Okay. Noah, sorry.
I'm a little excited and biased too. I'm pretty excited about it, really. I talked to a couple of the soccer families that came in who tried to go to a couple local restaurants downtown and were actually told that they didn't have any food left.
They didn't.
So certainly, I called Jimmy to talk to him about maybe coordinated with the chamber or the businesses to let them know, because My understanding was 3 or 4 of the downtown businesses literally got served all their food to the soccer people. There was nothing left, and they didn't have any backup food to.
No,
So-
no, they did not, yeah. And that was their futsal tournament.
Right.
And he's already had 20 more teams contact him about the futsal tournament next
Yeah,
year.
and I think that was only 16 teams. I could be wrong about that number, but I thought it was a
saying
very limited.
It was around,
I thought it was a smaller number than what he's
20?
trying to do here.
I think, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're larger individuals.
Larger than teams, okay. All right. So, but exciting. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
that one kind of caught everybody off guard, I think Jimmy included.
Yeah. Good.
So,
Good.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Fire Board, Mike?
We also had a visit by our city planner and Megan at the fire board. It was well received, and we also had representation from Boonville at Lieutenant Britt's funeral and memorial service in Columbia.
Street, alley, and sanitation, Mike?
And again, we got visited by Megan, and Daryl Tower in this case came to visit us as well, and they really enjoyed that. In fact, I think we could have we went on an hour and a half or more, close to 2 hours about that discussion. They seemed to have all kinds of questions. They love getting the facts and the data, and Daryl loved sharing that. And I think they were enlightened and passing the word that they were all for it, the annexation. I think they were unanimous, and that was the main part of that meeting.
Okay, questions? That's a great group. I like that committee. Board of Public Works. Ned, let's guess, was Megan at your meeting?
What a surprise.
Did I steal your thunder?
You did.
Sorry.
Great presentation by Megan and Daryl. Thank you. And we reviewed one waiver, which we did not issue. And that's how the meeting went. Nice and smooth and well done.
Okay, questions for Ned? Reports of city officials, city administrator.
Yeah, I want to just briefly talk about the street program. I sent some information in your packet. I'd like for you to pull that out, I guess. And the first section is just kind of an inventory, which you can look at your convenience. We literally drive every street in town and kind of make an evaluation of it, and then we translate that into what's on the second set of pages you got there, and then those are numbered. Starts out with crack sealing. The crack sealing, as you know, we try to do that ourselves. It's probably the most important thing we do all year in terms of maintaining what's a massive investment in the street program. And then the next page, starting on page 3 there, is chip and seal candidates, slurry seal candidates. We're probably going to have to do some restriping this year, and if you flip it over on page 4, there's some work on concrete streets, and to a lesser extent this year, some work on asphalt streets. Those will all be bid, and we'll eventually get those back this year. But I wanted to do another little thing tonight that won't take long to give some of you are closer to construction than others, and what's chip and seal and what's slurry seal, and why do you do some of this stuff, and so forth. So, Jerry, this is we'll try to be quick here, but this is a little curve that illustrates everything you ever needed to know about street maintenance. Incidentally, I learned it back in about 1985 when, a few of you might remember, Herb Pinkin and I went to Jeff City on Boonville's dime for like a day's little conference on street work that MoDOT sponsored, and they had a consultant do it. And this really is all you ever need to know about street maintenance. For your position, for my position, and even on down to ML and even a little lower. But basically what I'm trying to illustrate here is we've got this axis, which is the condition of your street. So you've got excellent, good, medium, poor. This axis here is time. This is 1 year old, so it's pretty much new, 5, 10, 20, and on over. So this little curve here is sort of what happens to a street, but it also is what happens to most any other thing you have. I want to contrast it with your roof at home on your house. If you've got a brand new roof, it's new, it should be in excellent condition, right? So as time passes, it inevitably falls off in its quality, its condition, and after 20, 30 years, it's pretty much shot, and you're going to have to start over and get a new one, right? And the point I want to make with the roof is there's not much you can do about that process of deterioration. There isn't anything you can go up there and spray on or paint that sort of refreshes it and gets you a few more years out of it and so forth. The important thing to remember with streets is there is some things you can do to arrest this curve, arrest this decline. And that's what we try to do. And frankly, it's the most important thing that you can do. So these little maintenance things come in front of reconstructing something that's clear down here on the curve. When it's down here, it's shot. Whether you fix it this year, next year, or the year after, it's still going to cost you a lot of money because you've got to start over. But the goal is to try to interrupt this decline with some kind of maintenance. So you can do it here, or more likely here, because we're an old city. We don't have a bunch of streets that are brand new or that are in excellent condition. So somewhere in this area here, we try to do some things which do this sort of thing, which take this curve, instead of going out like this, we try to continue it out like this, and then it'll start down again, and then maybe you can even intercept it again. So you try to extend and extend and extend doing that. So that's what we do. The chip and seal floor, or the crack seal first and foremost. That's what we're working on. We do that ourselves. We're presently renting a machine, and we try to get out there on the days that allow you to do it. But then we're going to do chip and seal, spray seal. There's something called thin overlay that you can do, which I don't utilize much because it just doesn't seem to work on the type of conditions that we have here in the Midwest. So we're going to do some of these things, three of these things to try to arrest this decline. The other important thing is, these things here, the cost is a fraction of what it is when it gets down here. So you're trying to do things up here, and you can chip and seal a street or slurry seal a street 10 times over from what it would cost you down when you had to start over and rebuild. That's fractions. It really is a fraction. If you had $100,000, that probably would rebuild one block of street. If you had $100,000 for slurry seal, you'd probably go a mile. So this is the concept of what we're trying to do there with all these little things, and try to catch a street. The only other thing you got to know is what circumstances these fit on. There's a difference between where you chip and seal and slurry seal. Slurry seal is a little more demanding in its conditions. You can't just put it down on any condition and expect it to work. But it's the more pleasing product than chip and seal is. Chip and seal, of course, you know, is you put the oil down, you put rock on it, and roll it, and you get rock kicking up, and it goes off. Slurry seal, the rock is mixed in with the slurry, so you don't get all that excess rock. You get a little bit, but you don't get all that excess rock. So that's what we're out to do with these maintenance things in any particular year, and why we spend probably more money on maintenance type things than we do on what somebody might normally think of as street maintenance. So again, this applies primarily to asphalt. It doesn't work with concrete so much. You can slurry seal concrete, but it's a little bit, it's not really an ordinary thing to do. It would only work if things falling off and so forth in that circumstance. So I just want to give you an idea of why we do some of these things and see what we're trying to accomplish here in terms of conserving your asset, your investment here, spreading it out at a much, much less cost than if you just let it fall apart and said, okay, we better fix that this year. So any questions? Mayor?
Yes, I do, and I'm looking for High Street.
Earl, can we get copies of that? Oh, okay. No, I'll turn my phone off.
Very nice presentation, Earl.
Thank you.
Okay. Be sure sure and hang on to these lists, because later when you ask Earl what streets are being done, he will refer you to these lists, so.
Yeah, the only caveat I want to say is on the asphalt street, we may not do all those this year because they're not quite a have to. They'll weather another year, and I may choose to go a different route rather than bidding all that out this year. I want to do Nelson Street because it needs it, but the rest of them probably won't get done this year, so we may go about a different procurement process than normal on the asphalt. We'll bid the concrete, we'll bid the chip and seal and slurry.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Mayor's report, I just have one thing. In your packet, you had a Pick Up Boonville report. It was very successful again this year, and Joan Reed deserves so much credit for organizing that, and she lives that 52 weeks a year, I believe. She's working all the time on that, so she deserves a lot of credit. I do also want to give, the City of Boonville had a team, and I want to announce who was on the team. Russell Gerling and myself were the two team captains, and the members were Steve Young, Becky Ehlers, Ned Beach, Susan Meadows, and it employs Phyllis Newman and Larry Ann Crawford, who not only came, but she brought her husband, her daughter, and 2 grandkids. So the team doubled when Larry Ann showed up. So we had a good time, and we thought we'd lost Steve and Ned. They told us we did Main Street. They told us they accidentally went all the way to McDonald's and were in the dumpsters out there.
That was Steve.
That was Steve, okay.
Just have it.
Okay, we didn't believe it, we weren't sure where they were or what they were doing, but we knew they had large bags of garbage when they came back, so, anyway, thank you all to all of you who participated in that very good community event. City Councilor.
Just a follow-up from last meeting. As you can see, a lot of effort and time has been spent on communicating the annexation and has continued over the last couple weeks with a lot of phone calls and folks coming in. We have even had within this last week folks coming in and getting maps and trying to understand what the issues are. So I believe the word is truly getting out, and I hope for a real good turnout at the polls tomorrow. But in response to the issues that came up at the last meeting regarding the Kemper Campus, the Science Hall Rehabilitation Project, I am making progress on doing some evaluation for the use of the parks tax and the stormwater tax and the conflict of interest issue. I hope to have something prepared to come back to the council probably at the next meeting or within the next month. So it's a fairly extensive question. This is a story that's been being told since 2003 when we brought the Kemper campus. So it's not look up one thing and give you an answer. So it's a good due diligence project. So but it's going to take me a little bit of time. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Economic Development, Dr. Gann is here this evening.
I'm embarrassed because I have the reputation at the IDA of bringing diagrams, and Earl's showing me up tonight. So I'm embarrassed by that. But in your packet, you have the March 20th report that I presented to the IDA. One thing I'd like to point out, just for your own understanding, is that there's a phasing issue in that the IDA minutes that you have prepared by Secretary Ken Herlinger are from the February meeting, but this is my report in March, so if it seems out of phase, it's because it's out of phase. So I'd be happy to respond to any questions that may prompt you from this, but I would like to turn your attention to the page that's stitched or stapled to the back of that report, which is an email from a young man at Boonville High School. And I've been doing some work on entrepreneurial development, as I promised you I would, and I'm now working with 6 students that whose stories kind of match this young man. So in 3rd grade, I was not coding computers in the 3rd grade, and at As a high school freshman, I was not trying to understand how to collect taxes in my business, which is what brought him to my office. So we are finding this, and just so you know, this young man will be presenting on Friday for the opportunity to win as much as $5,000 to fund his business. So
Nice.
he was successful in getting into a pitch competition. So that's kind of a fun story that I thought I would share with you. Other than that, I'll be happy to respond to anything that I've presented. The other piece of business, not to rush you, but the other piece of business that I would like to discuss with you is the document titled City of Boonville Economic Development Vision and Memorandum of Understanding. So I'll pause for questions that my report may have generated for you. If not, I'll proceed to the City of Boonville Economic Development Commission and Memorandum of Understanding. It says draft at the top, and the reason that it says draft at the top is to allow you and the commissioners the chance to edit this and make it your own. So if you'll recall, when the agreement with the university was being discussed, the IDA was charged with presenting to you within 90 days a structure that would give me guidance to operate under with your direction. Excuse me. This is the document that the IDA put together with that charge. And so these are the things that they want me to work on, and these are submitted for your approval or your editing, if you'd so like. But under the agreement that was made, this was owed you within 90 days. It needs to be edited and passed by you and by the county commission under the terms of the ordinance that entered into the agreement. So I'll pause if you have any questions on this. This may be a due process question, but if you have edits to make, I suspect it would have to be the IDA that would need to change them. I don't know the answer to that.
And the IDA got this also.
They did.
Yes.
And this is what they passed on to you in their, we've been working on it now for 2 previous meetings. And just also so you know, this, about 2 months ago, you responded to a survey from me, as did a number of business owners that went out to the Chamber of Commerce's mailing list. That information was used in the crafting of this document. So we didn't do it in a vacuum.
Noah?
Do we know when the 90-day deadline when this has to be finalized is? Do you know what that date is? Or
Mary looked it up the other day, but I can't. May 1st.
May 1st. So really the last meeting in April,
Right.
really for us. Well, plus it has to get over the commission. How do they vote?
Yeah.
You know when their voting schedule is, their meeting
They
schedule?
meet Mondays and Thursdays every week.
Okay.
So they meet
They'd have
much more
time.
frequently than we do, but
The worst case scenario, our last meeting in April is drop dead.
yeah. If
But-
there's a reason, you know,
Yeah, to delay it.
to delay it.
Sure.
But if there's not, I'd like to, you know, move along with the process.
Yeah, and that is a deadline this body put on, that we would have something to you. So
Yeah. Okay.
Megan?
Jim, how do you define a primary job and a secondary job?
So a primary job is a job, and this may not be the exact textbook definition, but a primary job is a job that imports wealth into the community. So to give you an example, Caterpillar, the products that they make at Caterpillar, in theory, some of those products are used in our community and in our county that they make at this plant out here, but certainly they make far more engine mounts or whatever it is they make far more of those than are consumed locally. Therefore, when they make a tractor sale in some place away from here, some percentage of the sale of that tractor trickles its way back into the salaries that import wealth into our community. So I'll contrast that with a retail job. A retail job typically, or our restaurant here in town, not that those jobs are not important, but for the most part, they do not import wealth into the community. More often than not, it's us trading amongst ourselves. So from the worker's viewpoint, those 2 jobs look the same, assuming that assuming that the salary rate is the same and the benefits are the same, is a retail job would look very much the same as a job at Caterpillar, but from a community standpoint, it's very different. And it has to do with the importation of wealth. And it's not just manufacturing. I mean, the Isle of Capri, produces much more gaming than we as a community consume, so that's importation of wealth. So as we prioritize, we felt that that was an important distinction for the community to understand, is that that's the first priority.
Thank you. Ned?
Well, will this be done by resolution or by ordinance?
I believe the original document was an ordinance, I believe.
I think the original document was authorizing the agreement, but I don't know why this couldn't be a resolution. It's somewhat temporary in nature, so.
Yeah,
It could
thinking the
change.
first and second reading.
I follow you, yeah. I don't see any reason to do that. It's been, like you said, the IDA twice. You talked about the county. They've had a representative at the IDA, both of those meetings, so they should be up to speed on it too. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Nice work, Jim.
City Clerk, Mary, do you have a report this evening?
I just want to remind everyone that we will have a sign die meeting on Tuesday, April 15th. It'll be at 7 o'clock here in the council chambers. We will have a, excuse me, a small reception following for the retiring and newly elected council, and everyone's invited to attend and bring their families.
6 o'clock, did you say?
7.
7 o'clock. Oh, thanks.
Miscellaneous, any miscellaneous this evening?
Just to
Yes,
get out and vote.
good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.